Whoa! Watch out guys, the beasties in this particular cage of hypothetical horror are getting a little too crowded for my liking, and to be honest, I think it's probably high time that we put the graft in and reinforce some of those steel bars because it kind of looks like they're not so load bearing anymore. And well, if we're in the business for unleashing the mother of all creature feature horror movies, that would probably be the plot that we'd be looking for. But thankfully, this intro is merely fictional and serves only as a framing device for this continued mindbender of a series. Honestly, I promise, we're safe. For now, anyway. Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube. Top 5 scary videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host, Jack Finches. Today, we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest creature feature horror movies, part 4. Roll the clip. For the curious amongst you, that clip of course was from 1997's Anaconda, a movie which, despite the sum of all of its parts, is actually a damn entertaining serpentine sletherfest. Although seemingly the movie failed to notice that giant anacondas, like all snakes, are deaf as a doornail. But hey, that's just Anaconda guys, and Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube and John Voight have got my vote regardless. It leads me to an interesting point nonetheless, because throughout our 3 parts so far of this list, you may be thinking, where are all the terrifying wildlife movies? And well, let's take a look at our number 5 point first, because when it comes to taking a chomp out of snakes, I think that there's only one winner. Kicking off at number 5, Lake Placid, 1999. Yeah, giant crocodile eats a grizzly bear. Go figure. You see, when it comes to late 90s wildlife-based creature features, in my opinion, there are only 2 contenders, the aforementioned Anaconda and Lake Placid. And I think it goes without saying, but Lake Placid, as a horror movie, is the clear winner in this head-to-head. But yeah, case in point, that still doesn't mean that we can't give them both a mention. Forget about that though, and forget about the wider Lake Placid franchise, because this movie is a damn near classic, and whilst not a scratch on some of the Australian crocodile rocks, it's been a long time coming for this North American prehistoric monstrosity of cinema. The thing is, this isn't that much of a movie other than being a creature feature start to finish. Lake Placid isn't about building character relationships or strangely forced side stories, it's about a bunch of professionals trying to figure out why things keep dying at Lake Placid. And because of that, the characters in this movie actually make some pretty competent decisions, unlike, again, its 1997 counterpart Anaconda, which I won't talk about that. Written by David E. Kelly and directed by Steve Miner, Lake Placid tells the tale of Sheriff Hank Keogh, played by the awesome Brendan Gleeson, who is investigating a string of strange disappearances in Aroostook County, Maine. You see, the sheriff's fish and game officer has recently gone missing after scuba diving in the nearby Black Lake, and so, in typical hero's tale fashion, he assembles a crack team to see just what the hell is going on, really. Bill Pullman, of course, takes the lead as Jack Wells, another fish and game officer out for revenge for his fallen comrade, and to be honest, Pullman is remarkably endearing in this movie, as he always is really. But I mean, there's also Bridget Fonda, Oliver Platt, the aforementioned Brendan Gleeson, who is also awesome in this movie, and guess who else? Betty frickin' White. What's she doing here? Well, that'd be spoilers, but it's freakier than you'd expect, actually. Lake Placid is awesome. Yeah, it's been superseded a few times by films that do outclass it, but hey, it certainly deserves its place here. Swinging in at number 4, The Day of the Triffids, 1962. Alright guys, I'm going to cheat a little bit with this one, because while yes, the 1962 version of John Wyndham's sci-fi classic is worth its place in the hallowed halls of creature feature horror, I would probably commend you to watch the 1981 BBC miniseries over the 1962 film version. But that's not to say that they're both not worth their salt. The miniseries is just superior, and the point is, when it comes to the creature feature, The Day of the Triffids certainly deserves its fair nod, whatever the form it takes. And it's weird, because in some ways the horror classics of the 1960s in many ways were solely comprised of creature feature movies. To call them scary in any sense is quite the leap, and in certain senses also not the reason why we watch creature feature horror, but the point is, The Day of the Triffids as a concept as a whole is certainly one of the best. Also, as a side note, if you haven't read Wyndham's science fiction classic 2, you certainly should, because it is a great read. Written by Bernard Gordon and directed by Stephen Seekley, both the 1962 version as well as the 1981 miniseries tells a tale of the strange and bizarre Triffids, a species of carnivorous mobile plant life that are highly aggressive aggressive and seemingly capable of intelligent behaviour, which arrived on Earth as strange spores from a meteor shower, which also inadvertently happened to blind the vast majority of the world's population. You see, whilst the 1962 version is a relatively faithful adaptation of the novel minus the seawater, it also features some surprisingly brilliant physical effects that, whilst dated, certainly serve to add to the level of fear of sentient plant life. On the other hand, the 1981 TV series is just a brilliant adaptation of the sci-fi classic that is certainly forthright in slowly picking apart the societal undertones that Wyndham intended. Hey, look at that, a 2 for 1. Well, a 3 for 1 if you include the book. Now that's value. Next up at number 3, Q, 1982. And a lot of you guys have been calling for this particular entry, and fine, you've twisted my arm. Quetzalcoatl rears its ugly head once again. She's here. We better watch out, the winged serpent rises once again. You see, the thing is, I'm gonna level with you guys. This movie shouldn't work. Well, it should work, but only ever as some cheap, off-the-shelf, easy money kind of creature feature without the feature. It's a movie about an ancient Aztec god, Quetzalcoatl, who instead of divining her way across the pantheon of an ancient mythology, instead gets served up as a half-baked hybrid of Godzilla meets Jaws, with a tiny sprinkle of the body snatchers for good measure. But you know what? It works. This movie shouldn't work, and yet it really does, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. You see, on the surface, Q is very much a drive-in monster cheapie with all the clay animation that you could ever dream of, but beneath that, Q is a strange tale. In a subgenre that is usually reliant on a hero triumphing over adversity, just like Beowulf and Grendel, in Q, there are no heroes. Written and directed by Larry Cohen, the B-movie auteur of all things sci-fi and horror, Q tells the tale of the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl, a winged dragon-esque female lizard who, at the time of this movie, takes up residence in the iconic Art Deco spire of the Chrysler Building. As you can imagine, that's prime location for haphazardly swooping down and snacking on the poor, unassuming residents of New York City. But soon enough, the string of decapitated and desiccated bodies do stack up, and the NYC authorities are left scratching their heads as to just exactly who or what is treating the city like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Oh yeah, and also, not only that, but the police are also massively busy with another string of bizarre ritualistic murders linked to a secret Aztec cult. As you do. So, who's our hero to face down this colossal series of adversaries? Yeah, no one. Just Jimmy Quinn, a paranoid cheap-ass crook who sees this terrifying winged serpent as a chance to make some money for himself, bizarrely enough. But the thing is, Jimmy Quinn is played by Michael Moriarty, who is honestly astounding in this movie. I still don't even know what the point of this film is, but Michael Moriarty is awesome, and I like it. Coming in at number 2, Grabbers, 2012.
Would you stop doing that? Spits like a frog.
Alright, let's do things a little differently, right? Because the creature feature subgenre is unique in the sense that it's one of the few genres that can adequately blend comedy into its form without necessarily standing solely as a horror comedy. In part 1 of this list we had 2011's Attack the Block, which is a deserved creature feature in its own right, but a few months later this incredibly similar and equally brilliant shocker was released, and for the most part it flew completely under the radar. The thing is, in a different vein than Attack the Block, this film is downright hilarious, so much so that at times it's difficult to tell what genre it is entirely. Also, in hindsight, that's probably the reason why it put a few people off, because the creature design of this horror feature is absolutely awesome, and as far as stereotypes go, it's one that hasn't necessarily been touched on as much as it should have. Slight spoilers, tentacles are terrifying. Always have been, they always will be. Written by Kevin Lehane and directed by John Wright, Grabbers is a British-Irish B-movie that wholeheartedly flew under the radar compared to some of its contemporaries of a similar ilk. Attack the Block included, and yet it stands unashamed in all of its horror glory. It tells a tale of Richard Coyle, who whilst being an Andy Serkis lookalike is also brilliant in this movie and plays Garda Kieran O'Shea, an alcoholic and slightly workshop officer who has appointed a new partner, Garda Lisa Nolan, who is pretty much his exact opposite. If that sounds like the plot to Hot Fuzz, that's because this part is, but don't let that distract you, because soon enough a series of mutilated whale corpses start washing up on the shore on the quiet coastal Irish community that they oversee, and things quickly go from bad to worse, really. But don't worry, because one particular British and Irish social pastime is the key to salvation when facing down a host of horrors from the sea. Hint, it's the pub. But again, that'd be spoilers. The thing is, whilst this movie seems ridiculous, it's also executed in such a charming manner that it's difficult not to enjoy it. And yet, what sets it apart from some of its clearer horror comedy creature features, such as Tremors or Arachnophobia, is that it's actually full of intentionally unnerving moments that deliver when it matters. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot, Brotherhood of the Wolf, 2001. And you know what? To hell with it. Considering that we've already thrown in a hilarious movie like Grabbers, let's continue on with the pure entertainment factor behind these creatures of feature. Because pound for pound, this movie in particular is one of the most damn entertaining horror moments that you can have without taking your socks off. And also, it's probably important to note that this movie was the visual inspiration for Bloodborne, so yeah, there's another pretty glaring reason why this movie has to take our number 1 spot. And also, I'm just feeling generous. The thing is though, whilst on the surface this movie is very much a horror action tour de force, at its core, it's also quintessentially the definition of a creature feature. And what better fur to wrap that in than that of a real life infamous monster of legend, the Beast of Gavondon, an alleged man-eating animal that terrorised the south of France between 1764 and 1767. However, if you are expecting history in this movie, please think again. Whilst Brotherhood of the Wolf has little logic as to how or why it mixes its blend of historical placement with that of espionage and secret society intrigue, it doesn't matter, because what this movie loses in logic, it makes up for with pure awesomeness. And whilst it's an incredibly rare concoction, this film just works in all of its glory. It's visually astounding, it's dripping in brooding cool, and it more than enough serves the creeps when it needs to. In many ways, Brotherhood of the Wolf reminds me of 1999's Sleepy Hollow, just if everything instead was turned up to 11 and Tim Burton let Guy Ritchie have a go at things. Written and directed by Christopher Gans, the man responsible for 2006 Silent Hill, Brotherhood of the Wolf tells the tale of Gregoire de Fronsac, a knight and royal naturalist to King Louis XV of France, alongside his Iroquois companion Manny, who are on the trail of a series of strange and vicious murders in the French countryside. And that is all I'll say really, because more than anything, this movie is just a joy to watch down to its narrative alone. It stars Samuel Le Bihan, Monica Bellucci, Mark Dacascos, all of which are awesome in this movie, but by far it stars Vince Cassel as Jean-Francois, and holy moly is he absolutely brilliant in that role, as well as every other role that he's ever been in, because Vince Cassel is awesome. Honestly guys, this movie is a joy to watch, and the fact that we can finally give it a top spot on one of these lists makes me a very happy man. Watch Brotherhood of the Wolf, you will not be disappointed. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scariest creature feature horror movies, part 4. What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Have any more to add to this list? Then let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below, as well as any choice picks of your own. Before we depart from today's video, why don't we just take a look at some of your more creative comments from over the past few days. First up, Luna Foxfire says, "Hey Jack, some mint tea and honey will help with that cold." And thank you, Luna Foxfire. I'm still getting over that cold, but hey, it is the season for it after all. I've been chugging tea and chewing on Fisherman's Friends like it's going out of fashion really. But thank you either way. Ellen McAllister says, "Because of you Jack, I have found A Field in England, a movie that I can't stop thinking about. Also, I take knowledge I get from this channel to make me look smart around my film teacher brother, our little secret." You know what? That is brilliant, Ellen. And this comment makes me smile. I fully approve on both counts, and keep pulling the wool over your brother's eyes. Well, on that note, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, or just top 5 scary videos in general, then please be a dear, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take it easy.